The people in Wisconsin have Midwestern values. Blue collar, hard hat, lunch pail, appreciate an honest day's work. They want to see a reflection of them. Them having to work in a factory, them having to work on a farm, or in a business setting. And that's what they like to see in their home state teams.
And the crowd storms the court.
There's a special connection with people in Wisconsin and this basketball program. They're good, hardworking kids that are a lot like the people that grew up down the street from you.
Lets it go.
Fans now are spoiled. From the early 2000s to where we are now, all anyone knows is the basketball team being in the top 25 and competing for Big Ten championships. And, you know, that just wasn't the norm.
Nice move. Draws the foul and score the field goal.
46 years. From 1948 through 1993, no Wisconsin men's basketball team reached the NCAA tournament. That same span saw just 13 winning seasons in Madison.
We had season tickets my whole life. The peak of your expectations was just that the Badgers upset one of the decent Big Ten teams that visited.
Troy hit it wide open.
You know, you always had that hope that you'd get over the hump. It just didn't happen.
Wisconsin sports fans are no different than any other sports fans. When you start winning, they start paying attention. And once Bo started to win, people paid attention.
William Francis Bo Ryan served as a Wisconsin assistant from 1976 until 1984. After leaving Madison, Ryan built a premier program at UW-Platteville, capturing 4 Division III national titles.
Bo's dream was that he wanted to coach at the University of Wisconsin. He knew what a special place this could be.
The nation's longest winning streak at home has come to an end.
I would go back to his first season. They only had, I want to say, there's 7 or 8 scholarship players, but they came out of nowhere to win the Big Ten championship, and that, I think, caught the attention of the Big Ten and said, man, who is this guy?
I'm extremely proud to call Chester my hometown. It's just, you know, a hard-scrabble playground background, work for everything, work ethic from my parents. My dad, he worked shift work a lot when I was younger. When he did have time, he always volunteered and worked with young people. He exposed me to a lot of competitive environments. I took a job as an assistant coach at the University of Wisconsin in 1976, right before the Final Four, and I called my dad and told him, Dad, I get tickets, and we can go to the Final Four. Saw 2 really good games on the semifinals and a great championship game, and my dad and I were hooked.
Butch was a character. He loved to go to the Final Four with Bo and hold court and tell stories, and that was a special time.
Butch made a comment most years, Bo, your guys can play here. We got to get your team here. And it was a father kind of teaching a son, have a dream.
During the first 12 years of Ryan's tenure in Madison, the Badgers finished in the top 4 of the Big Ten each year, yet never achieved the glory of the Final Four.
There was a feeling that inevitably the season would end when they ran into the hot Cinderella team.
It's a cutting Curry. Oh, my goodness.
I mean, it was pretty fair to say that we were going to crumble at times.
Here's Brust for 3 and comes up with air.
At the end of the day, you can win as many Big Ten tournaments and Big Ten titles, but you're judged on kind of how you do in the NCAA tournament.
Seeded 5th in 2013, the favored Badgers faced 12-seed Ole Miss in the opening round of the NCAA tournament.
Awful shooting performance by the Badgers.
It's just not the way I wanted this to end. It's just not right.
We have to get past this point of a program, and that was that point that we had to break through.
5 months after the disappointment of the NCAA tournament loss, in August of 2013, Butch Ryan passed at the age of 89. Associate head coach Greg Gard and 4 Badger players traveled to Pennsylvania to comfort their coach.
Coach Ryan was going through some hard times, and you never really see him in that stage too much where he's down and kind of not focused on making the team better. For us to go there and kind of show our support to him, it was very special.
Bo knew Greg Gard would be there, but it was the players that shook him up.
This is where it all kind of begins. We were sitting at a restaurant, we all looked at each other in the eye and we're like, let's do something that hasn't been done. Let's do something for Bo. We wanted to show that Wisconsin is elite. We wanted to show that we can go to Final Fours.
My junior year, our team, especially, the older guys always talked about changing the culture of Wisconsin basketball. Big Ten championships, never finished worse than 4th in the conference. To us, that sounded like a lot of mid-level success. It wasn't like any national success.
There's a 1941 banner. It's the only banner kind of in the gym that stands out. It's all black. And I remember telling the guys, like, why can't we put another banner up? Why can't we be the best team to ever come through here?
My junior season, we started the year out 16-0. I think we started really believing that we were one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country.
In 2014, the Badgers finished 26-7, earning a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. A goal first conceived over dinner in Philadelphia now stood just 40 minutes away, with top-seeded Arizona the lone remaining obstacle in the regional final.
I just remember standing there in the court just pacing from sideline to sideline because I just had a feeling that, we couldn't lose that game.
I was never nervous for any game in my college career ever, except that Arizona game. The moment hit me. Senior, never been to a Final Four. Bo's never been to a Final Four. And I just felt the nerves.
The entire second half of that Arizona game was within 1 possession the entire time. There was so much tension in that building that it was almost paralyzing.
The March Classic needed more than 40 minutes to determine a winner. Late in overtime, the Badgers nursed a 1-point lead. But a late turnover gave Arizona a final possession with 2.3 seconds remaining.
Wisconsin is headed for the Final Four.
To lead a team to the Final Four when no one really expected it out of you, it's still hard to put into words.
We want to change the perception and the culture here. And when we put those hats on, it was like, wow, we did it. Like, we really got here.
This is where everything comes full circle. Not only did we talk about a goal, we achieved the goal. And we achieved it for him and with him.
He's the first guy I ran up to and gave him a hug because, I wanted it really bad for myself. I wanted it bad for my teammates, my family, the fans. But I think Coach Ryan was at the top of that list.
It was Bo's dad's 90th birthday. And there were people in the crowd that were holding up signs saying, "This one's for you, Butch."
He had talked about it so much. What if, what if, what if? And now he was standing there on the court and someone saying, "You did."
Your entire life, you've been going to the Final Four with your father. He recently passed away, but now you get to go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be there coaching without him. But this is for Butch.
It was hard for me to get away from that thought of him not being there this time because the year before we were together at the Final Four. But there's no question in my mind was, boy, it'd be nice if he was here. Like, hey, Dad, we're going.
Get ready, because they say things are big in Texas.
In 2014, Wisconsin reached its first Final Four since 2000.
It's kind of the old Sesame Street song, one of these things is not like the other. Externally, they always looked like, why is Wisconsin here?
The Badgers joined a wide-open field at the Final Four, facing 8th-seeded but red-hot Kentucky.
Brother to brother for two.
They were tall, athletic, making some plays that were tough on us, tough for us to guard.
Tough shot won't go, but it's tipped up by Poitras with a left hand.
But we've always made a comeback, and we've always been resilient, so I really wasn't too worried.
The margin over the last 4 minutes, 44 seconds was never more than 2 points. With less than a minute remaining, the game was tied at 71.
Trayvon was a kid that almost from the minute he got here had this supreme confidence in himself, and he wanted the ball in his hands.
Jackson has hit some clutch shots.
Oh, Jackson, yes!
He probably was the toughest guy mentally. And the more he did it, and the more confidence his players gained in him and said, late game, we're giving the ball to Trey.
Jackson, Mr. Clutch, leaning in, throws it to the bucket. No good, but he's fouled on the three.
I remember at that moment, like, we got this. Like, we're going to win this game. The first one, it was in and out, and I'm like, how is that out?
Jackson sank his last 2 free throws. Wisconsin led 73-71. 16 seconds remained.
The Harrison shot, I mean, I had been covering him all game long. He hadn't even looked to shoot.
Aaron Harrison, beyond belief.
If you would have freeze-framed it, taken a shot from 30 feet out, I think we would have taken it.
And then you know who's going to get the ball last. It's Trey Jackson.
I had a moment where I thought, man, that's off. But then it hits the backboard, and I was like, maybe it's on.
Jumper for the win. No!
I know we're supposed to win. I know we were. And when it didn't happen, the shock and the awe of the moment really just was like, this isn't real.
I had no feelings. I wasn't sad. I wasn't mad. I wasn't happy. I couldn't cry. I just was just like blank.
I saw silence, if you can understand that, because it's not that you just don't hear people talking, you can feel it. Guys barely being able to talk, or if they could talk, it was in whispers.
That game just stuck in my mind so badly that, you know, it was like waking me up at night. I was having dreams about it.
Frank Kaminsky attended high school at Bennett Academy in the Chicago suburb of Lisle, Illinois.
He wasn't the sexy recruit that everyone was looking for. He didn't have all of the physical attributes that our level looks for in a big. I went to watch him play against Simeon, and Jabari Parker wasn't the best player on the court that day, I'll tell you that.
My high school coach at the time texted me and said, Wisconsin's coming to watch you tonight, so you better be on your best game. I didn't even go shake anyone else's hands. I was so excited that Wisconsin was there recruiting me.
It was like this mold of clay that had so much potential, but you never knew if, from the neck up, if it would ever register.
Frank was soft, not sure if he really belonged at this level, a little bit of a whiner on the court.
When he got near the basket, he just wasn't confident, and Bo Ryan would ride him day after day after day and tell him that he was a wimp.
Frank Kaminsky, as a sophomore, his claim to fame was having to wear a combination of goggles and headband. And he looked like the worst player, the last guy you would pick for your team.
I remember a specific occasion where Coach Ryan told me not to look at the rim unless there was 5 seconds or less on the shot clock, and that really irritated me. I just didn't respond to it well.
A lot of close misses for Wisconsin.
Rededicating himself to the game after a sophomore year that saw him average 4.2 points a game, Kaminsky introduced himself to the national stage in a November 2013 game against North Dakota.
I had scored like 8 points total in our previous 4 games.
Open three, right side, good again. Frank Kaminsky in rhythm early.
You saw him do things physically that he had never done before. And you're looking going, okay, I know it's against a lesser team, but where is this guy coming from?
Up right hand, 2 more for Frank. He has 34.
I didn't even know I was close to like the school record in points until Coach Ryan kept taking me out and putting me back in and then taking me out and putting me back in, trying to get me one more score. And on the last time he says, okay, you got one more chance. And I looked at him and I said, chance for what?
Tries in the lane, up, and that's the record. A single game school record, 43 points.
I was like, this is gonna be a trivia question in like 20 years. Who broke the all-time scoring record in a game? And people are never gonna think it's Frank Kaminsky. Like Frank Kaminsky.
Pick a pop three is good. Kaminsky having a huge game.
Kaminsky's 28-point, 11-rebound effort of the Badgers' Elite 8 win over Arizona opened the eyes of NBA scouts. 1 year after barely sniffing the court, Kaminsky faced a life-altering decision: seek NBA fortune or return for his senior season.
We have our end-of-the-year meetings with Coach Ryan every year. He purposely scheduled me last, and I think our meeting lasted like an hour and a half. So we were just in there just talking about what I could do for our school, what this team could mean, you know, for the rest of our lives.
In a post on his blog, Kaminsky announced his decision: 1 more year in Madison.
The media blitz surrounding Frank was as big as I've been around for a collegiate athlete.
I nicknamed him Poi, which is his nickname for Player of the Year, AA, All-American, the greatest ever.
I was so uncomfortable with all of the attention that I was getting. We heard ESPN's gonna rank you the favorite for preseason Player of the Year, and I was like, I think my response was, why?
There could be distractions that would affect the team. You have some guys that are playing very vital roles to this team that are not getting the same recognition. And those guys see the fact that Frank's on the cover. Their role is every bit as valuable.
People become jealous. People start thinking, well, wait a minute, I contributed this, this, and this. Why aren't they talking about me like that?
Was there a moment where you thought maybe that vision had drifted into stuff that maybe didn't matter, awards?
No, and I think Frank, how he's handled all the attention that he's received, I think that's the key.
I've never been around a player that had that much attention at that level, that was so humbled, so grounded, and included everybody else. And that wasn't just a front. That was how genuine Frank was.
My junior season, we were close, but I think there was more cliques kind of thing. My senior year, no one cared how old you were. No one cared what classes you were taking, where you were living. We were all just one group.
When we weren't together on the court practicing, we were together off the court, whether it was playing Mario Kart, joking around, playing pranks on each other, going to dinner, whatever it was, we were always together.
The people who got the short end of the stick were most of the girlfriends. That, you know, it came down to do I take my girlfriend out or do the whole group of guys go someplace?
The day we got our rings, we were just checking Twitter, and Bomani Jones was going on a rant saying, like, oh, yeah, I completely forgot Wisconsin was in the Final Four. And we're like, yeah, we were there.
So the Wisconsin players are like, you know what, we're going to make them believe. We're going to show them that we can do this again, that this was not a fluke.
We learned that we can do it. You know, we got a solid core group of guys that can do it, so we're fully expecting to make another run.
It wasn't necessarily hoping we could get there. It was more of we truly believe that we know we will get there.
I absolutely love the fact that they stood up literally from the day after the Kentucky loss that we want to get in this position again. We're going to put the pressure on ourselves to do it.
Wisconsin's home game against Duke was about as hyped as any game that we've had in program history.
The Badgers' biggest early test of the 2015 season came against Duke in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, with both teams sporting unblemished 7-0 records.
Final Four caliber matchup, rabid fans here in Wisconsin, and two of the top players in the country.
In the back of my mind, I was always thinking, like, am I actually this good? Can I live up to all this attention and hype that people are giving me?
Freshman trying to back down the senior, and he will.
Duke had a good game plan where they had really denied other people, and it forced us to go one-on-one.
Hayes, and another miss around the rim.
They out-toughed us, and that was more surprising because we hadn't, been in this situation where like a team is out Wisconsin us.
And frustration for the Badgers. You see it on the face of Kaminsky.
That was an opportunity to send a statement nationally that Wisconsin was one of the best, if not the best in the country, and we had failed to do it that night.
Wisconsin rebounded to win its next 8 games before traveling to New Jersey to face a 9-7 Rutgers squad without Frank Kaminsky, who was battling concussion-like symptoms.
Even with me not playing, we expected our team to just go in there and cakewalk through Rutgers. They were the furthest thing from the best team in the Big Ten, and at the time, we were the best team in the Big Ten.
Hayes, look at how quickly he got past his man.
They looked like they were fine. And then Trayvon Jackson got hurt in the second half, and everything went downhill from there.
It jumped. So when it landed, I heard a snap, like a shh. And I just remember just saying, like, screaming like, ah. Like, I found out later that they actually heard the snap. The Rutgers guys heard it. When I was in the locker room, I knew something was off because I could feel it out of place.
It seemed like once Trey got hurt and Rutgers turned up the pressure, people didn't respond well.
Jack slides past Decker!
They started hitting some shots, and when you give a team that knows they're supposed to lose confidence, miracles happen.
And they're going to storm the court here at the rack.
People don't like to see games like that out of teams they might pick to win the title later on. I think people are alarmed by a loss like that.
The other guys got to step up. You know me. Just play.
You have your best player not play, your senior point guard go down with an injury. But we were awful that night. We stunk.
After the Rutgers game was the first time all season that I kind of felt a little like nervous, a little like, uh-oh.
He was the best at keeping us all on the same page. So to not have Trey, one of our top leaders, really set us back.
Senior Trayvon Jackson suffered a fractured foot against Rutgers, sidelining him for a minimum of 6 weeks.
I just texted Trey saying how bad I felt for him. He texted me back, just expressing that I'm more than ready to take the team and lead them to a national championship.
Bronson was super talented from the day he walked on campus. He was kind of a little reserved. Every time Bronson would check into the game, he would call the same play. It didn't matter who we were playing against, what the flow of the game was. He would just come in and call the same play.
Koenig is open on the wing, and Koenig has a quick 5 here in the early going.
Bronson Koenig gave them another scoring threat, which was the last thing opponents needed.
Gosser shot fake, Koenig a 3.
I think the most memorable game for me was the Iowa game at home. I think we had 1 turnover the whole game, and it was a shot clock violation that may have even hit the rim. I don't know.
Gosser the 3. Timeout Iowa.
They went through this offensive stretch that was incredible. Teams didn't know what to do with Frank. Do you double him? That leaves someone else open.
We're going into games going, all right, how much are we going to win by?
Timeout Indiana right out of the gate. 9-0 Wisconsin.
I think there was like a false perception that Wisconsin was like a throwback team.
Wisconsin's 11 of 15 as Kaminsky lays it in.
Wisconsin didn't turn the ball over, took smart shots, can play at a variety of different paces.
No look pass, Decker slams it home and is heading to the line.
They reversed it. They were highly modern in the way they ran offense.
Can this team win the national championship?
I think we definitely have a chance.
We want to be the best team in Wisconsin history, and you got to win championships to do that, and we want to win them all.
Wisconsin entered March boasting a 13-2 conference mark. And a win on Senior Day against Michigan State would give the Badgers their first regular season conference title since 2008.
I can remember when the schedule first came out and I saw Michigan State home senior night, I was like, we're going to cut down the nets and win a Big Ten championship in this day, and it's going to be perfect.
Well, I had the same routine for every home game. I kind of just sit there in the courtside seats, and I remember just sitting there a little extra that day, just kind of realizing that, you know, this would be the last time that I do this. Both my mom and my dad started crying, because I don't think they expected me to get to where I was.
That was maybe one of the most revered classes that Wisconsin has ever had. The Wisconsin fan base could really identify with those guys because none of them came in as big recruits.
Got the Kaminsky, low on the limb, takes it right, layup, good.
I was really just locked in on the game.
Reverse layup, got it. Oh, good work by Gosser.
You just kind of knew this could be one of the best nights of your life, really.
Pull up jumper, good off the glass. Kaminsky with 31. Yeah, baby.
The players went up into the stands just to celebrate with the fans because the fans knew how much pressure the team had put on itself by talking about all those goals openly.
They wanted to sweep. A regular season title wasn't enough for this team.
At the Big Ten tournament, the top-seeded Badgers were able to grind out wins in their first two games, setting up a title game matchup against the Spartans, their second meeting in 2 weeks.
Tom has a great way of getting his guys to play their absolute best about tournament time. And they came out and just got all over us.
Dawson! Kaminsky not able to get there in time. Pull up three. Oh, how about it? Wow. Piercing their heart.
But it was one of those deals that you're looking around and well, this isn't going to end well.
Off he goes, Dawson! And Wisconsin calls the timeout as they've now matched their biggest deficit of the entire season.
With 7:44 remaining, the Badgers trailed Michigan State by 11.
I looked over at their bench and their fans. I turned over to my teammate and I told them that, you know, they think they won.
Koenig, he hits a three.
How about this kid?
All throughout the Big Ten tournament, Trey was kind of in my ear about, you know, just being more aggressive and, you know, that it was my time to take over. I felt a little disrespected almost, and something came over me, and that I was going to take over the game, and, you know, it happened.
Koenig to give the Badgers the lead, and he does it!
Well, they are showing a heart and a will of a champion.
I can just remember kind of telling the guys that, you know, do whatever it takes to get this thing done.
Koenig got a three.
I was going to do whatever it took if he missed it to get the ball, and I knew I was kind of out, but at the same time I knew they weren't going to call it. And I can remember just thinking when I finally touched the ball, like, just throw it up.
Gosser tries to save it, flips it high in the sky, pulled down Valentine. Oh, somehow gives it up to Decker. Koenig drives in, it's blocked, and a whistle.
When I seen that moment, I was like, oh, we definitely win this game.
A 23-12 Badger run over the final 7.5 minutes sent the game into overtime.
I think those guys made a statement by getting that game to overtime and then keeping them scoreless in the overtime period.
That's a 22-point swing over the final 7 minutes of regulation and the OT.
At the true foundation of this program is those 7 minutes. The true character, guts, grit, internal fortitude of that group shone through.
Gosh, she's beautiful. Did you hear that?
All right, so we'll open it up to questions.
Wisconsin press conferences became must-see theater. There was this live art happening in front of the camera with these personalities that allowed themselves to be goofy.
I would say Ferry. No, Trey.
What I saw was a group of guys having fun at it, just absorbing it all and showing the country their personality.
Onomatopoeia and anti-disestablishmentarianism.
There would be some ridiculous vocabulary words being thrown out to mess with stenographers.
No, Nigel, he's really weird, so probably like 3 or 4 in the morning.
There'd be inside jokes being thrown out. I felt like people were entertained by Wisconsin.
As much as they had done to that point, if they lose before the Final Four, it completely changes what people think of this team. You know, I think they felt that these games they had to win.
Wisconsin entered the 2015 NCAA tournament as a #1 seed for the first time in school history. Yet the burden of that achievement, coupled with Final Four expectations, created a pressure-packed vibe for the Badgers.
The only way this team will prove that they're better is to do what last year's team did and then some.
The year before, we were winning with pure joy, and that's something that we didn't necessarily have.
In both their second-round game against Oregon and the Sweet 16 matchup with North Carolina, the Badgers were either tied or trailing in the game's final 10 minutes.
That first half against Oregon, coach really got into me. He said, "You're not here. Where are you? You are not here."
We didn't play as well as we could have. It felt like something was a little bit disconnected.
Kaminsky, who is yet to score. Another miss for Frank.
Anytime you make the Sweet 16, I think it's a great accomplishment. But if we really wanted to be national championships and be the best team in the country, we had to play better and play better now.
In the Sweet 16 battle against North Carolina, head coach Bo Ryan looked for a spark.
Trayvon Jackson takes the floor for the Badgers. First in 20 games he's been in there.
I check in, I get a nice ovation. I was like, this is pretty cool.
People never knew when Trey was going to come back, A, and then when he came back, what's he going to be like?
Oh my goodness, Jackson. You couldn't have scripted any better than that. Are you kidding me?
And I remember running back, and Josh bumping me like, whoa! I was like, man, that's a big shot there. Let's go.
The North Carolina game, it was basically 2 3-point game, and then Sam decided to start making some shots.
Tap in Trey. Decker gets it again.
If it wasn't for Decker, I don't know where this Wisconsin team would be.
Sam had a history of rising to big moments. In high school, he had a very famous shot to win the state championship game.
He was their highest profile recruit in a long time. He walked down this campus and people immediately assumed he'd be a star.
He was a little bit of a prima donna, thought he had arrived before he did.
Sam's freshman year, he tried for some reason a behind-the-back pass that went out of bounds.
Decker in the post goes behind the back. It's a little too fancy.
And I thought Bo, instead of pulling him out of the game, was going to walk on the court and grab him by the neck and sit him down himself.
As soon as Sam made a mistake, he didn't even have to look for a substitute. He was going to be hooked.
Bo Ryan lets him know that he was not necessarily pleased with the defense on the other end.
There would be, film sessions or times in practice where he would repeat a thing over and over and over. And I would get fed up with it, and I'd tell him.
The things that I was doing with Sam were going to help him become one of the best players that ever wore a Wisconsin uniform. That is my job.
Wisconsin has been literally punched in the face here. Let's see how the #1 seed responds here.
I love the feeling of being almost in an uncomfortable situation. And that's kind of what March is about.
Decker,
He got to that point to where he was on the same level as Frank and confidence-wise. And he hit some big, big shots.
Behind 23 points from Decker, Wisconsin outlasted the Tar Heels. Awaiting them in the West Regional Final, Arizona. The same team the Badgers ousted in overtime in the same round the year before.
Tip's about to happen. I walk up to TJ. I say, you know, here we are, back at it again. Yeah, hopefully this game ends the same way as it did last time. And he was like, you know, I'm going to do my best to make sure that it doesn't end that way. And I was like, yeah, you go ahead and try that.
If you're Bo Ryan, you could not have scripted a better start to this ball game.
You know, a lot of the guys didn't shoot particularly well overall in the North Carolina game, and I was like, it was bound to happen. It's just math and statistics. We were due to start making shots.
Decker a three, and Wisconsin is knocked down 2 triples to begin the second half.
I didn't realize how well they were shooting until I had a break and I looked and I said, my God, they're just destroying this team.
I have not seen that happen very often, but in years past, we were knocked out of the tournament because of people shooting like that.
This was like the star Sam Decker, like that people had been waiting for it.
And here is Decker with a 3 over York. How about that shot?
Sam was just killing the final couple minutes of the game, hitting big shot after big shot. And we had talked to Reggie Miller in shoot around, you know, and I just turned over to Reggie Miller and said, Sam's got stones like you.
Outside Decker. It's a 3. Got it! Dagger!
And the way he shot it and walked away.
He was right there in front of me. Winks, and I smiled, patted him on the butt.
He slapped me on the butt and had a little chuckle, and that's what our relationship is like.
For a second consecutive season, the Wisconsin Badgers are going to the Final Four.
After my junior year, I said we'll be back. I think I promised that we would be back. I knew my senior year, Sam knew that it was going to be his last year there too, and just to go out and get to the Final Four on him making a shot like that is just, you love seeing it.
What do you think if it's a Kentucky rematch next Saturday?
Usually, I would kind of root for the underdogs. You want to play the less talented team, but that was one of the moments where I really wanted to play Kentucky.
We'll play who's ever there. You know that exists when it comes to answering media questions, but without a doubt, deep inside, the fact that they were going to get to play Kentucky was exactly what they wanted.
You know, I would have preferred it if it could have happened in the first round. That's how badly I wanted to play Kentucky.
Team.
We are Wisconsin. Go Badgers!
The second year, it was a different feeling because A, you had a chance to win a national title, a legitimate chance, and B, I think people kind of understood that this might be the end of a run.
In a game that was both predicted and anticipated, the Final Four staged the rematch between Wisconsin and Kentucky. With this version of the Wildcats and their 38-0 record, the talk of the sports world.
We did a story in Sports Illustrated where we concluded that they had the best defense of any team of the entire modern era.
Do you think I have to tell my players that this is a big game or that Kentucky's pretty good?
When the bracket comes out, it's not just Final Four revenge, but at this point, it's the chance to stop one of the greatest teams in the history of college basketball.
We were watching film, and at the end of the video, Coach Ryan just put up the clip of the year before when Aaron Harrison made the shot against Josh. It just got kind of quiet, and everyone kind of just stood up and walked away. That Kentucky game on that day was my birthday, and I had my whole family trying to get me to come to, like, do things with them. And I was like, I'm not leaving my room. I am all zoned in on this one.
They don't believe we can win. Let's go out there and make them believe. Let's go. 1, 2, 3.
We were the only people in the country that thought we could beat Kentucky, and we came in the game knowing we were going to win.
They had the transition dunk to go up 5-0. I'm like, oh, this was good. Then we came down, hit a 3, and then it was like, all right, game on.
When Wisconsin gets out there, And you're like, oh, things are actually working. Frank Kaminsky spreading out the floor and driving is working. Sam Decker is scoring against Willie Cauley-Stein. And so you're like, this is really going to be a game here.
Well, Coach Ryan took me out in that game, and I remember going to the bench, kind of got some water, and I was like, I'm ready to go back in, and please don't sub me out again.
Koenig hits it with 1 second.
You thought, okay, 20 minutes, halftime, tie score, let's start it over.
Kaminsky off the glass and a foul.
And you thought at that point, man, Wisconsin's really playing well. Will they be able to extend the lead and put Kentucky away?
Koenig, he's got an open three. Wisconsin opens up now an 8-point lead.
White-hot shooting from the Badgers sparked a 16-8 run to begin the second half.
Those kind of spurts, you know that they're going to end, and you don't want the other team to start one.
And again, the Badgers got sloppy with it. They have not hit a shot in over 5 minutes.
You couldn't help but think, uh-oh, this is what Kentucky does to teams.
Badgers, they've gone 7 minutes without a field goal.
They suffocate them at the end of the game.
As quickly as Wisconsin built an 8-point lead, the Wildcats erased it, and then some, surging to a 4-point lead of their own with 6.5 minutes remaining.
I was worried that we weren't going to be able to get the momentum back. Let's play like Wisconsin played to get here to this game, and then they did.
There it is. There you go.
I think Wisconsin looked at themselves differently than the Kentucky kids. I just think they felt like we're mature.
Kentucky hasn't scored in over 4 minutes.
I truly felt like in the building, people knew that Kentucky was in trouble.
Step back, Jack, and yes.
Sam Decker's clutch three-pointer broke a 60-all tie and gave the Badgers their first lead in nearly 7 minutes. Wildcats found themselves with the ball and trailing by 3 with 1:40 remaining.
It's kind of a joke throughout the program is I don't take many charges.
Decker stepping up on both ends of the floor.
You have two visuals there, Sam celebrating it and Bo Ryan down on the bench doing this because he's like, you got it. That is the player I want.
It felt like a movie in a sense.
Kaminsky is really pumped up. Fist pump, he's got the arms raised.
We came back all the way to the same stage, and we came out on top.
There will be no undefeated champion of Wisconsin.
Back in 2014, you know, there's that picture of Sam hunched over. And ironically enough, you fast forward to 2015, and you have Willie Cauley-Stein walking off the floor by himself with a Wisconsin crowd behind him, a complete kind of 180 for the good guys winning this time.
I have heard from thousands of people, and they knew exactly what they were doing, where they were.
Hey, guys, what is that?
The Kentucky game will never be forgotten.
When we got back to our hotel, that was one of the most unbelievable things I've ever seen in my entire life. I literally would have had confidence to drop my phone and know it wouldn't have hit the ground. How many people were just stuffed in the lobby.
We were up on like a catwalk runway just to look down, and oh my gosh, it was craziness.
As soon as they caught a glimpse of one player, the whole place just went nuts. So we started playing peekaboo with them, and the fans would cheer for a second, and then they would stop, cheer again, stop.
It looked like all of Madison somehow drove down to Indianapolis and filled this hotel and was celebrating like a national title.
It went into the early morning hours pretty quickly. So that emotional ability to come down from that, I think, took a while. And then you have one day of preparation for Duke.
They had accomplished a goal that they had talked about all year, and now they've got to reset their goals.
4 months since Duke visited Madison and handled the Badgers, the two teams were set to meet on college basketball's grandest stage.
You looked around, you're like, wow, like we're really in a national championship game. Like all these 70,000 people are here to see us.
Kaminsky driving in, and a foul is called as well.
In a game matching a veteran Badger squad against a freshman-led Duke team, the first half ended in a dead heat, tied at 31.
I remember Wisconsin going to halftime with only having committed 2 fouls. They're playing an elite offensive team, and they haven't been fouling. If they could stick to this, I think they could start pulling away.
Kaminsky, 2 more.
I thought when they took a 9-point lead, I kind of looked over at my colleague and said, this might happen. This team might win a national championship.
We knew who Grayson Allen was. Did we expect the performance that he had? Absolutely not.
As Allen trying to take it on his own, and a foul.
Tough shot.
And it drops again.
Okay, this kid's going for 15, 16 points now. I think everybody's kind of like, what?
I've never had a team come over to a huddle in all the years that I've coached and say, Coach, how can we stop some of this dribble penetration when they felt they were in position to have taken a couple charges and they weren't called? And I'm like, hey, guys, this is for all the marbles here.
Kaminsky point blank just missed it.
We weren't as physical in the last couple minutes, and that had a lot to do with the way the game was called. That was really the first time all year I felt that, where we just didn't know what to do.
Put back for the 5-point lead.
We had just got past this in the Kentucky game, where no matter what it looked like, we stayed focused. Wasn't necessarily like that in the Duke game.
Frank Kaminsky, you can see the disappointment as he walks to the other end.
You saw everything that you had within reach after beating Kentucky was slipping away, and there was nothing you could do about it.
My memory of the Duke game will always be Josh and Frank embracing each other and almost holding each other up.
I was shocked that we lost, because I truly believed that we were going to win. Sometimes, life's not fair. This is not the outcome we envisioned. We knew we were going to win, and it just didn't happen.
30 years from now, they'll never be able to get rid of that Duke loss. You remember all the great times and the wins, but it's the losses that are so hard to get rid of.
To see these guys grow over the years and to be here last year, to see them go out this way, that's tough.
You know as a coach when you have a really special group. And we also know that whether you're 68 or 48, those type of teams and those type of moments can be once-in-a-lifetime opportunities.
Tough to say anything right now. These guys are my family, and I mean that literally. It's just going to be hard to say goodbye. It wasn't about winning and losing basketball games. It was the fact that we won basketball games and lost basketball games as best friends and as brothers.
Presenting the 2015 NCAA finalist banner to your Wisconsin Badgers.
We wanted to make everybody believe. That was our slogan all throughout the year. Looking back at it now, I think we did make them believe.
To beat the greatest team in college basketball at that point was something you can't take away from us. We were the best basketball team that ever stepped foot on campus at Wisconsin, and until someone wins a national title, I'm going to take that with us.
You guys are having so much fun. How have you managed to stay this loose?
We're just trying to have as much fun as possible.
There's nothing more fun to watch these bunch of goofy kids come in as freshmen and have them grow together to become really a special team.